What if I told you that new cars coming off the lot are less reliable than ever before? And I know it sounds crazy. After all, the majority of the people that are buying brand new cars are buying them under the excuse of, I just want something new. I just want something reliable. I don't have time to fix a car. I just need to get from point A to point B. But unfortunately, the folks over at JD Power have dug up some rather alarming data with their 2022 initial quality study report, which shows new vehicles being more problematic than ever before. And even more alarming is that the vehicles without an internal combustion engine, the electric vehicles, are literally the least reliable vehicles out of 2022. So let's unpack this all and get into it. Before we get deep into this, I do want to say that the JD Power initial quality study report is not perfect, and it is actually kind of flawed. And what I mean by this is that the year-by-year data for individual automotive brands can vary widely. It's not uncommon to see an automotive manufacturer, say Ford, GM, or Porsche for example, to fall multiple places year over year, even while their products stay literally the same, other than very, very minor changes that the average buyer might not even notice. So, is this proof that year-by-year reliability can change for the same product, or possibly the result of limited data, which is based on potentially flawed user input? The point I'm trying to make here is that boasting that a specific manufacturer ranking well in the initial quality survey means very little. In fact, I'd argue that it means literally nothing. That being said, just because the year-to-year data by manufacturer can change drastically, something that doesn't change drastically is the year-to-year data including all cars from all manufacturers, which is actually where we see the new and startling trend of vehicles as a whole from all manufacturers decreasing in reliability. And again, this is based on the 2022 reports of the initial quality study, which show an 11% increase in problems from 2021 to 2022. And this is measured in the problems per 100 units, or PP100 for short. And that 11% increase is the biggest jump we have ever seen in the 36-year history of this report. To determine the PP100 score for each brand, they've surveyed over 80,000 owners and anyone leasing a new model year 2022 vehicle, and they asked them 223 questions that fall into 9 categories, which include infotainment features, controls and displays, exterior, driving assistance, interior, powertrain, seats, driving experience, and climate control. Armed with the knowledge of how this is all ranked, we can look at the average PP100 score across all automotive manufacturers, which was 180 compared to 2021's 162. Remember, higher is worse. The more problems you have per 100 units, the higher the score is and the less reliable your vehicle is. That being said, how good or bad the initial quality study is does not exactly correlate to the manufacturing quality of the vehicle. Correlation is not causation. However, a lower score is more than likely caused by excessively complex vehicle systems, and many users quite literally not knowing how to fully use their vehicle, fully use all the features and the infotainment system and everything, and then falsely assuming that it's broken because they can't figure it out because it's way too complex. And I don't mean that in any sort of condescending way. New cars are genuinely very, very complex, and to fully understand how to utilize everything is often very hard. That's partially why things like Apple CarPlay or Android Auto have become so popular, as each company has its own infotainment system which is complex in its own way. And that's not just my opinion. Quote, automakers continue to launch vehicles that are more and more technologically complex in an era in which there have been many shortages in critical components to support them. He also noted that the microchip shortage from 2020 is also contributing to lower scores, as it has forced automakers to build vehicles without some desirable features. But that all begs the question, are automotive manufacturers doing this on purpose? Could they possibly be making their vehicles less reliable on purpose? And I know it sounds crazy, but once you look at the numbers, it kind of starts to make sense. Just consider the fact that for most dealerships, parts and service accounts for upwards of 50% of their profits. Not new cars, not used cars, parts and service. That accounts for literally the majority of their profits. So what would the incentive be to sell a perfectly reliable car? But of course, the automotive manufacturer isn't necessarily benefiting from those repairs at the dealership, as those profits really go to the dealership rather than the automaker directly, but you can still see the correlation I'm pointing to. If dealerships massively rely on repairs as part of their business model, what would the incentive be to sell a reliable car that never comes in for service? It's just something to consider. And all of that begs the question, why are new cars becoming excessively complicated for seemingly no reason? And the answer varies greatly depending who you ask, but it effectively all comes down to attempting to make their product superior to the competitor's product, and part of that involves marketing all the neat features that it has that no one else has. But the truth of the matter is that a lot of those features are effectively gimmicks. They're features that almost no user uses, and they're not exactly useful in the real world. It's just something for them to market, but it's not actually going to improve the experience of your car. Most people just want to have their car reliably go from point A to point B. They don't need all these crappy features and gimmicks. So my point here is that many cars could be becoming excessively complicated, all for the point of having something to market. So sure, while a basic Civic that was, say, $20,000, an absolute base model car, could sell, maybe if they loaded it up to $25K and spent that $5K on a bunch of random crappy features that they had to market in commercials, that car might sell better. So you end up with this vehicle that's excessively complicated and slightly more expensive, all so that they have something to market in their commercials. And that also carries heavily into the electric car space, where part of the marketing for any electric cars is that essentially there are the smart version of a car. So think back before smartphones took over, electric cars are being marketed as the same, as the smart version or the smart alternative to normal cars. And part of that involves crazy infotainment systems and goofy bits of innovation, which ironically translate to significantly worse initial quality study scores. Case in point, Tesla is near the bottom of the chart and Polestar is literally the bottom of the chart. But to be fair, both scores are considered, quote, ineligible for ranking, as the data is significantly more limited than other brands, which ultimately means that the data pool isn't big enough to have completely accurate score. With that in mind though, it is pretty funny seeing electric cars near the bottom of this score, as you'd think that the complete lack of an internal combustion engine would eliminate most issues, but those issues are then made back, and then some, with excessively complicated infotainment systems and gimmicky features. So where's the truth in all this? If 2022 showed the initial quality study being lower than ever across the board, are cars getting less reliable? And the truth is that it's yes and no. As I explained earlier, this study doesn't exactly equal out to a vehicle's reliability because many of the reports are subjective and submitted by vehicle owners, with many of the reports including issues with the infotainment system and the vehicle owner not knowing how to use it properly, therefore thinking it's a broken system, when in all reality, they just don't know how to use the system. That being said, I think we can all agree that vehicles are becoming excessively complicated, all because automakers need something to market. They need these new features and these new gimmicks to bring to market as a way of having something to market in their commercials or on their sales floors or whatever. And electric car companies like Tesla and Polestar are the worst of the bunch. They're literally the least reliable vehicles, at least according to this study, which is pretty ironic considering they don't have an internal combustion engine to brake. But they do have a bunch of ridiculous other features and gimmicks which do end up breaking, or the user simply just doesn't know how to use them, and therefore they end up scoring lower on the initial quality study. So what do you guys think? Do you guys think that cars are in fact becoming less reliable than ever? Or do you think it's just a function of cars becoming really complex and then people not knowing how to use their car fully and then assuming it's broken because they can't figure out how to use it? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're down there, check out some of the other stuff on the channel. Smash the thumbs up button if you enjoyed the video. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok, and I'll see you guys in the next one.